Have you ever felt like the deeper you think, the lonelier you become? Like the more you understand, the less people want to listen? It's not just in your head. Intelligence, especially deep, introspective intelligence, can be a curse. History has shown this over and over again. The greatest minds, Socrates, Galileo, Nietzsche, Hypatia, were not just misunderstood. They were ridiculed, exiled, even killed. Not because they were wrong, but because they made others uncomfortable. But why does this happen? Why does society resist those who see what others ignore? Why does intelligence isolate rather than connect? The answer lies deep within human psychology, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The psychology of rejection. Imagine you're standing in a dark room. You feel safe, not because the room is truly safe, but because you can't see what's around you. Now imagine someone turns on the light, revealing everything, both the good and the bad. The dust, the cracks, the imperfections. Most people's first instinct wouldn't be to thank the person who turned on the light. It would be to shut it off. This is what deep thinkers do in society. They don't just introduce new ideas, they reveal uncomfortable truths. Truths that challenge long-held beliefs, question authority, and disrupt the illusion of certainty. And people don't forgive that easily. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we feel when confronted with information that contradicts our existing beliefs. The deeper and more challenging the truth, the stronger the resistance. Why intelligence feels like a threat. When you meet someone who is physically stronger than you might admire them. If they are wealthier, you might envy them. But when someone is intellectually superior, something different happens. Instead of admiration, many people feel resentment. Instead of inspiration, they feel exposed. This is because intelligence doesn't just exist externally. It directly challenges our identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of the world. When a deep thinker introduces ideas that question these foundations, it's not just an intellectual challenge, it feels like a personal attack. That's why intelligence, more than any other form of superiority, provokes resistance. A 2021 study at Stanford University found that when people feel intellectually inferior, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates in the same way it would in response to physical danger. This means that intelligence, when perceived as a threat, triggers a fight-or-flight response. The social paradox of intelligence. Throughout history, intelligent minds have been pushed to the fringes of society, not because they lacked social skills, but because society instinctively resists those who disrupt the norm. This is why the most successful people aren't always the smartest. In social settings, confidence is more valued than intelligence. Think about it. Who gains more followers, a charismatic influencer with simplistic ideas, or a deep thinker who speaks with nuance and complexity? The answer is obvious. Simplicity wins. Not because people are unintelligent, but because the brain prefers easy-to-digest narratives over complex truths. That's why populist leaders thrive, why motivational speakers go viral, and why shallow but confident thinkers gain influence. They don't make people uncomfortable. They make them feel good. Meanwhile, deep thinkers, those who challenge the status quo, often find themselves dismissed, ignored, or even attacked. This isn't just a social issue. It's a biological survival mechanism. The tribal brain and the fear of outsiders. For most of human history, survival depended on the tribe. You didn't need to be the smartest person in the group. You needed to be accepted. The human brain evolved to prioritize social harmony over intellectual pursuit. Fitting in meant safety. Standing out meant vulnerability. This is why, in group settings, intelligence can feel like a threat. A deep thinker doesn't just challenge ideas, they disrupt the tribe's stability. Stanford researchers found that in one-on-one settings, deep thinkers are often appreciated. But in groups, the reaction changes. The social hierarchy takes over, and people become more defensive, fearing that a highly intelligent individual might undermine their status. This explains why deep thinkers often feel more comfortable in solitude or small groups, but struggle in larger social circles. The biases that keep society stagnant. Psychologists have identified several cognitive biases that explain why deep thinkers face resistance. The Dunning-Kruger effect suggests that people with low ability often overestimate their intelligence, while highly intelligent people tend to doubt themselves. This creates friction. Those who know little often believe they know more, leading them to dismiss deep thinkers. Status quo bias makes the brain prefer familiar ideas over new, complex truths. Intelligence often introduces disruptive thoughts, making people uncomfortable. The backfire effect shows that when people are confronted with information that contradicts their beliefs, they don't change their minds, they double down on their existing views. Deep thinkers often face this reaction when they introduce challenging ideas. The digital age. Intelligence versus virality. In today's world, intelligence faces an even bigger challenge. The internet rewards engagement, not depth. Algorithms don't prioritize wisdom. They prioritize emotion, controversy, and simplicity. Think about the most viral content you see online. It's quick, it's catchy, and it often lacks depth. A deep thinker, on the other hand, struggles to compress profound ideas into bite-sized, viral-friendly content. This creates an even bigger disconnect between intelligence and influence. Society increasingly values entertainment over enlightenment, and as a result, deep thinkers find themselves further isolated, not just socially, but digitally. What can deep thinkers do? If intelligence leads to isolation, does that mean deep thinkers should stay silent? Should they suppress their thoughts to fit in? But understanding the forces working against you allows you to navigate them strategically. Choose your audience wisely. Not everyone is ready for deep discussions. Find those who value intellectual exploration rather than trying to convince those who resist it. Learn the art of communication. Complex ideas can be powerful, but only if they're understood. Simplification isn't dumbing down, it's making wisdom accessible. Balance depth with relatability. Intelligence doesn't have to be isolating. The greatest minds in history weren't just thinkers, they were communicators. Understand the social game. Intelligence alone isn't enough. Social dynamics play a crucial role in influence. Learning how to present ideas without triggering defensiveness can make all the difference. Final thought: the burden and gift of deep thinking. Being a deep thinker in a world that values simplicity is challenging, but history has shown that ideas, no matter how resisted at first, have the power to change the world. Socrates was sentenced to death, but his ideas shaped philosophy. Galileo was condemned, but his discoveries changed science. Nietzsche was dismissed, but his insights continue to influence modern thought. Truth is often rejected before it is accepted. So the question is, will you let society's resistance silence you? Or will you continue thinking deeply, even if it means walking alone? Because the paradox of intelligence is this: it isolates those who possess it, but it is also the force that shapes the future.